Welcome to this week's Fireside Chat with Jesse. I am joined today by Craig Ault, Chief Revenue Officer of Acquis Insurance. Thanks for joining me, Craig.
Happy to be here. Really good. I know we've met in the past. This is our first time to really work closely together. So I'm excited for this. I'm looking forward to getting a chance to catch up with you.
No, me too. I've seen you at a few equipment finance organizations over the years, and I always ask. It's a question I always ask people when they go to a service provider. We'll get into that a little bit later, but it's like, are you on the dark side or are you on the other side? Like, what's that like going from, being a team to now you supporting several clients?
Yeah,
But
yeah,
we'll
yeah.
dig into that a little bit here. So, for the people who haven't met you yet, Craig, do you mind just kind of introducing yourself and your career in equipment finance?
Sure. It's really been my adult life, really. After grad school, had the opportunity to get exposed to the industry, which was really a fluke. I mean, like most of us that have been around for a little while, it wasn't a promoted industry. It wasn't something that was in the college recruiting books or anything like that. And by the way, that's one of the big things I think we as an overall industry could continue to do better at, frankly, is to make uh, colleges, programs aware of our industry because it's an amazing industry, but it's just I don't know, it wasn't something that I knew about. So it was just oh, connection of weird timing that I was blessed to get in the right place at the right time, meet a couple of people, and got me exposed to it. And really my first really big significant entree was with CSI Leasing, which is now owned by Tokyo Century. Had a really good long run with that organization. Um, Wonderful people there. The new owners at Tokyo Century are great individuals as well. So it was really great. Set the foundation for me. Had an opportunity to get exposed to some really good fundamental learning of how to do the business. The two founders at CSI were a gentleman by the name of Ken Steinbeck, who's recently passed, and then Al Smith, who's still very active to today. We're founders of that and really set the fundamentals in place. So it was a really great learning experience for me, and large great debt of gratitude there. Then had
Oh,
the
was that
privilege.
in the Midwest? Was that in the
Yeah,
Midwest?
St.
Okay.
Louis, St.
St.
Louis.
Louis.
It's
Okay.
based. I think it recently moved, but it's still in and around the St. Louis area. And I was a
Okay.
Missouri kid, so I grew up in Kansas City, went to school in Columbia, and so staying in the Midwest was kind of like very comfortable, very nice. And it was just that when you have that kind of a common ground, it's easy. Although being from Kansas City, I was a Royals fan and a Chiefs fan, so at those times, Cardinals and Rams weren't we didn't get along very well. But that's it was fun. It was fun. I tell you what, though, shout out to those St. Louis Cardinal baseball fans because they are some of the best baseball fans I've ever seen. So
I know
anyway,
several of them.
I left, and then after CSI, I had the opportunity, and this is getting around the COVID timeframe of working with Wintrust. Again, just through networking and having the privilege of knowing some referrals. A gentleman by the name of Kirk Phillips there. By the way, shout out to him. Recently was promoted in the job, CEO now, and taking over, I think, Mike Knowles' old role. Again, Mike's a tremendous person, but Kirk, again, just couldn't thank him enough. They were deciding that they wanted to put some equipment leasing into the out of footprint of the Wintrust, and Kirk was charged to really lead that. And he gave me the opportunity to work with him to develop some of the sales team and get the out of footprint marketplace. So put some regions together, hired some salespeople, put a lot of disciplines and fundamentals in place, and he's done just an amazing job. That group has grown extremely well, and I think they're all still doing a great job at it. Um, Left for some personal reasons with COVID going on that had me leave Wintrust a little bit earlier than I probably would have stayed a lot longer. I really loved the opportunity, but it personal matters needed to be tended to, so I had to take care of
Sure,
that.
sure.
And then did a little bit of work with some independent lessors, and then ultimately realized that, maybe this is a good opportunity for me to um, expand out my perspectives. I didn't really want to leave the equipment leasing industry, but was it something that maybe I could look at the service sector of it rather than being a lessor perspective? Because whether it's independent or bank, really my entire career was from the lessors. So Acquis Insurance really was somebody that I had been looking at the insurance sector of this, and then got an opportunity or privilege to meet the founder of Acquis Insurance, a gentleman by the name of Nick Leader. And as I can talk about a little bit later, perhaps just found him to be so aligned culturally and as a professional that it was really very, very comforting for me to be able to make what is a little bit of an uneasy, a little scary when you change and you start hearing different phrases and words and acronyms that you don't know what they are, and
Sure.
it's a little bit of a different world.
Uh, and shame on me. I've only known the service provider side for the last 20 years. Now I do, I mean, consulting or being a strategic partner of equipment finance organizations allows me to kind of dig in a little bit more, so understand that. But
Yeah,
I always like to
yeah,
ask that. I always like to ask that question. So thank you for that. And that's a bold move. I mean, I remember I want to say in 2010, like that was 5 years in, and I had an opportunity to go somewhere else, and I'm like, I love this industry so much. Would I not want to stay here?
yeah. Yeah, and that gets back to the previous point of like, could we get more people, the next generation, how do we get them engaged and understand the tremendous value and the great opportunities that exist inside this, whether it be on the service side or on the lessor side, whether it be
Sure.
captives or banks or independents. It's just a really awesome, awesome industry that I wish I could shout it from the rooftops, and let people know that there's great opportunities here. Just come look at them.
I just think we just need to figure out different ways to expose them, and that's probably in-person things. And I know ELFA and the foundation, EF Cares, we try to
Yeah.
make sure we get young people at all of our events. You need to
God
see
bless your
some fresh
work there.
faces. As much as we
Yeah.
love the same old friends and like the clicks, it's like that's great. We need some fresh blood in here. We need some diversity of thought. Like, what have we
Yeah.
got?
I hear you. I hear you. Well, let's all keep that as the task for us that have been around and have benefited from this great industry. Let's keep that as something that we take personally and try to do wherever, if we're ever, have that ability to share the message.
Sounds good. So what took you from St. Louis area, I guess the Midwest, to the Northeast?
Well, this I'm the Aquis Insurance is headquartered in the UK. It was founded, like I said, in 2009 by Nick Leader, but its parent organization is NSM, and NSM is headquartered in Philadelphia.
Oh,
So
okay.
that
Okay.
that's
Right.
how that's how Philadelphia came into my being, is through
Okay.
that, because they were,
Okay.
you know, Aquas Insurance was opening up even though they've been in the EU and the UK for several years, they were bringing their services and their offerings to the US, and basing it where in Philadelphia, where the parent NSM is located, just seemed to make sense.
Makes complete sense.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. It's a shame on me for not asking you to tell me a little bit more information on Aquis, and then that probably would have came up. So sorry about that.
That's that's all right. That's all right. It's I'll be happy to tell you a little bit more. You want to ask me now?
Sure.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Go right ahead. Go right ahead, Craig.
It's Aquas is I think some of the key things that really attracted me there was it's an independent, and I've really I've had the privilege of working in independence a lot of my life, and that ability to customize a solution based on the client needs, or the client care focused, if you would, is something that has always been really an attractive part of independent world. So the fact that they're an independent where it made a really big difference. They've got a lot of experience, the largest on a global scale of provider of insurance or equipment on lease. So while the name may not be known well yet in the U.S., hopefully that's going to be changing over the time. But in the EU and the UK, they are extremely well known, well respected, and just that security of knowing that there was a lot of this business I didn't know, and I needed to really have somebody that would be patient with me and and help me kind of learn the insurance aspect of the business because I had the lessor side down, but I didn't have the insurance side down. So I had to go through a learning curve, and knowing that Nick and James and all the wonderfully talented people that are employed at Acquis Insurance all around the world have just been delightful, very helpful to me.
Perfect. And you know, I guess how is that transition from the UK to the US? Like, how has that been perceived, um, Craig?
Yeah, I'll tell you from my perspective, it's there's a cultural adaptation that I think that took a little bit for us to get to, because as we all understand, the views and perspectives of an American CEO are uniquely different than those from a UK or an EU, and having an ability to understand what those changes needed to be, adapt a lot of our messaging, adapt to the words matter kind of a thing, phrasing it in such a way that the U.S. marketplace is willing to understand it and appreciate it. Insurance or for lessors on their equipment on lease is not new to the U.S. There's been a couple of players that are extremely dominant and have been around for decades. So just getting our message and our uniqueness is brought forward into a way that is truly respectful of the American culture, and I think really focusing in on what the unique needs of the lessors are. And that brings me back to that independent thing is that we've got some flexibilities there that hopefully will be of value and of interest as we grow the American brand.
Well, thank you for sharing that. I was a part of an organization that was US, heavy US customer base, and then they had a couple clients in the UK, and I think they're more saturated over there now. But remember when we were just getting over there, it's like it's going to be worth the effort. There's some bigger, potential providers over there of what we do that already kind of own that marketplace.
Yeah.
So
Hey, didn't say it
similar
was going to be
situation,
easy.
right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Whenever you're kind of you're kind of coming in and, in a respectful way, disrupting things because you're providing some alternative information and you're giving people choices, and we always treat this with the people that have been doing it are good and we respect them, but we think that we have a another alternative and a good way to look at it. So we'll see how it plays out, but I'm going to be doing my best to clearly
Cool.
communicate, and hopefully there'll be people that'll see some value in what it is that we're offering.
Perfect. And I've been seeing that. I mean, I think since your team made a full force approach on North America, I would think that people know who you guys are, which is good. I mean, it's
Yeah.
the first step. Now it's just market penetration and going from there. But it's nothing meaningful happens overnight. So, you know,
No, no,
yeah,
we're in it for the long haul. So we're here today and we're doing good work today, but we understand that this is a decades plus long kind of thing. We're gonna create a stable force that's gonna stand the test of time, and I'm sure will outlive my tenure. If like you build yourself out of a job, that's what I'm looking forward to is establish an organization and build a business that can function and grow well beyond my years.
so I want to talk about the equipment finance industry. because you've been in it basically your entire career. Um, I guess, what is the staying power that this industry kind of has, where, you've had a few different careers on the equipment finance organization side. Now you're on the service provider side. I guess,
Yeah.
what is so attractive, Craig, about this industry, to professionals like yourself?
I think I would put it as a kind of the opportunity that exists inside this industry. Uh, if you look at what it offers, there's so much diversification out there. There's so much ability to be unique. I mean, you take the three main categories of equipment leasing. You've got your banks, your captives, and your independents. All of those have branches of different strengths and capabilities and opportunities that are somewhat the same, but uniquely themselves from what it is that the other two do. It's well represented in terms of associations. There's organizations that are really trying to benefit the entire industry. Everybody that is part of it can contribute to making the overall better. So you've mentioned a couple of names like ELFA, NEFA. These are organizations that are out there fighting to build not only where, maybe on the in legislative aspects and capital connections that ELFA does, but just constantly creating a platform, a networking of organizations coming together, sharing ideas. Um, and it's another organization that doesn't get talked about a lot, but frankly, if you do this and you do it well, and you're really customer centric, um, there's a lot of profit that can be made. There's a lot of people that have made a lot of money individually that owe everything to this industry. And they've shared that, but at the same time, they've worked hard to earn it. So I think it's a little bit of kind of all of that is why it's attractive. I love the idea that what we do actually brings value to our customers. So the lessees of the world that all of us have helped, um, their lives are better. Their businesses are more profitable. They're more efficient. And so you can be proud of the fact that what you're doing at the end of that day, and you go home to your family, and you can be proud of the fact that what you're doing is actually helping other organizations and helping them do their families and the like. So I think that's been my attraction, what it is that's kind of helped me want to stay a part of it. Um, and I think I would also not, I'd be remiss if I didn't focus in on just a section of the time where people, um, the giving nature of a lot of the individuals. I'm not sure how many organizations or how many industries you'd have this, but there's a willingness out there um, to give and to help others, refer, just so much of that kind of stuff. Even though everybody's competing against each other in some way, shape, or form, um, I mean, I can, just a long list of excellent human beings that have been helpful to me over the years, and I've seen them help other people on a constant basis. That I think it's another real attractive part about what's so great about this industry that's helped all of us. Certainly me, I'm a debt of gratitude to the industry as a whole and all the people that helped me along the way.
Sure. I mean, you hit so many topics there that 100%. Um, you know, I owe basically everything to equipment finance industry, because while I had a few jobs after college, like, been here for this, like I said, this is my 20th year, and exactly what you said, scarcity mentality does not apply here. There's enough for everyone to go around. You might lose a deal to somebody today, and then you beat them tomorrow, and you sit there and you have a drink, and you're just like, really? Got your back, right? You know what I mean? It's just kind of one of
Yeah.
those things that, like you said, if things are done the right way, I think people have a lot of staying power in the industry. And then if things aren't done the right way, I think this industry has a good way of filtering out the bad eggs
Yeah.
uh, pretty
Yeah.
fast.
It does, and it's a tough industry. I mean, if you go back in time, there's a lot of organizations that ended up not succeeding that you would have thought, well, they were stalwarts forever. So, it has to constantly evolve. We have to constantly innovate ourselves and to find those new opportunities. And the industry, I think, has shown that it continues to do that. So I don't think there's a shelf life on it like you could get into some industries that are going to be, um, maybe curtailed by aspects that are outside their control. But I think the ability to constantly evolve and change as the times need, I think, is another big, really strong attribute to this industry and why it should be appealing. It's been appealing to a lot, and it should be appealing to the next generation that's considering a move or wherever their careers might take them.
Sure, sure. And then I know we were talking about the ELFA and EFA and ACFB. Do you remember your first conference that you ever went to?
Oh my gosh. Um, I remember my first, yeah, I guess I could actually do that. Again, you want to talk about people that have made an influence on your life. There's a lot of them that come from those organizations, but your first one when you walk in, um, I don't think age necessarily matters. I was relatively young, but I don't think age necessarily matters because you're walking around and it's this beehive of just everybody, the energy and the excitement that's going around, and everybody's talking, and it's kind of like a little bit of speed dating. It feels like somebody's talking to somebody, and then 3 minutes later, you see them over talking to somebody else. Um, and it's that kind of awe that overwhelms you, and then you just kind of get comfortable with it. I remember just thinking that my first at both the LFA and NIFA, and just kind of being that idea like, okay, I need to observe here. I kind of need to be a person that's taking stuff in. And again, had some senior people with me in each of those cases. So I was a little bit mentored, which was really helpful. But the way it's so well run, all of these organizations that you mentioned, they're so well run that they create a discipline in the structure that allows you to feel like, okay, there's something I'm doing. I know what I'm under control, even though it seems like uh, it's like chaos, but it's organized chaos. Everybody knows, okay, I've got this little moment of networking, but then in 30 minutes, I'm going to go do something else. Um,
Yeah,
but yeah, the people at the organizations, I can't think of them enough. Like name the guy like ELFA, Julie Benson. Anybody that's in ELFA probably knows who she is. Just an amazing, whatever you need kind of an attitude. Just how can I help you? Alexa, who just recently took over, I think, the small to medium business group, which I was on the board before I switched to the service sector. Again, just a long stalwart of people. Skip and at NIFA. So I can
yep,
just go on and on about raving on people like that, but they made it. They made that chaos work, and they continue to make it work. And it's got to be amazingly difficult that they're able to do that on such a great level every year, multiple times every year.
sure. I mean, we put on an event last week in Texas, and it's like, oh, congratulations, great event. Now we have one in 8 weeks.
Yeah,
Make sure it's just as good. Like, come
yeah, yeah,
on, like
yeah. Go
there's
on.
no like,
But I
there's no
can't.
reprieve.
I can't have an off week. Come on.
Yeah, your flight back home is your off time.
Yeah, right, right. Well, and like you said, you've got all these conferences coming up, and then this week, and then you've got another one next week in Chicago. I think that's Capital Connections one for ELFA. So yeah, good luck at the AACFP, CFB that I think you're going to. Again, just really great stuff, and the representation you do at all of the locations is just needed and much respected.
Thanks, Craig. I have one question I'm going to throw at you if you don't mind, and I didn't
Sure.
put it in my notes beforehand. Craig, a question that we have at pretty much all of our EF Cares events is like work-life balance. And throughout your career, wanted to see if you had any tips and tricks or things that might have worked for you. Because people ask me all the time, they're like, "How do you do everything you do?" And I'm like, "To the best of my ability." Naturally, like you just can't do everything, so some balls will fall here and there,
Yeah.
and it's just life. So you hope you get some forgiveness when that happens. But just wanted to see if, like, based on your experience, if you had any advice.
Yeah, I love the question. And honestly, I wish more people would talk a lot about it, frankly, because we want people to join this industry to retire from this industry. And we want those that have been in it for a while to have a long, distinguished careers and to retire very healthy. Um, and and I don't think you don't get there if you don't have a good work-life balance. So for me, it was always just keeping stock of, your physical, emotional, spiritual well-being and making sure that everything um, has a window of time and has moments in your day that you are directly attributing to it. I'm going to sound maybe when I answer this a little preachy, and forgive me and the audience, I hope,
Yes,
if it turns out to be, because I know
you're
what
fine.
works for me and the way I would suggest people do it. But I realize that's not right for everybody. So, and nothing I'm going to say couldn't be found in 100 books out there, but I think that they're important practices to do. And it's, to answer your question, what have I done? And it was these things. I tried to basically make sure that I stayed relatively as healthy as I could, meaning I moved my body. Whatever that form is, you just need to have some disciplines around it. So if it's, playing tennis or walking or running or riding a bike, but do something and be dedicated and committed to the fact that if your body's strong, then you're going to be able to sustain the long hours, the airplane flights, all of the things that we need to do that you're going to have. Because at the end of this, you're trying to create this temple that stays healthy and productive. So I would do the physical aspects and doing it with some regularity throughout the week. Um, on the mental component of it, I think it's a combination of doing a balance between focus on the tasks and constantly learning. So continue to educate yourself, continue to strive to make your brain grow and evolve, but also learning how to turn it off. Basically, to say a word that I use is, meditate. Do something throughout your day that allows your brain to reset and not just sleep, because that's a different level of clarity. So
Or
I think I think that does the mental, spiritual. I'm not going to, just I believe there's a higher power. I hope if everybody does, just take a minute and reflect on your position and what you believe in, but give some time to that stuff. So and then just in terms of the body again. And I fail at this one big time. It's, try to eat reasonably well. We all know the late night dinners, the beverages that go associated with them, the early morning breakfast, then you have a heavy lunch because and it's hard to eat well. And then you put all the
I
rest of
don't
that
know
in
if you
there.
can see all of this eating well for 20 years, but yeah, it's not
um,
easy.
but yeah, I think it's really just being aware that if you do want to have a long, distinguished career, do your best to create that balance and focus in and take all of them seriously. Um, in the last bit, since technology and the I, the phones and everything that we have, I mean, it's so hard to unplug, but there's a lot of good literature out there that says unplugging is very valuable too, and important. So, and then, just really share with your loved ones. You're not on this journey alone. Your loved ones, partners, friends, family, spouses, parents, um, everybody goes on that journey. So be vulnerable and share with them uh, when you're struggling, when you need help. Um, they'll be there for you. So I kind of put all of those things
Great.
together, and
Oh, it's fantastic.
it's my perspective on it.
Well, thank you for that, sir. Thank you, Craig.
Sure.
Um, and
And
I
you
ask
don't you don't
everyone
look like you've put a lot of weight on, so don't worry about that. Don't be
because
don't be doing that stuff to me.
I'm wearing black that hides things.
It's a slimming color.
It's a slowing. Absolutely. It's medium. But anyhow,
Uh,
I ask everyone on the program to give me a little fun fact uh, about themselves. So,
okay.
outside of equipment finance, what do you enjoy doing from a hobby perspective?
A fun fact about me is I'm an Evans Scholar.
Yeah.
Might Some might say, well, why is that important, or what is that? Evans Scholar is very important to me. And if you have any connection to golf, particularly in the Midwest, you probably know that. It's a foundation that was established for young men, and now it's young men and women, who don't come from economic means, that yet try to do things the right way, meaning they're doing community service work. They are doing well in their school grades. Um, and their connection to golf is that they have found their way into making a few extra bucks through caddying. And it gives you an opportunity, and I think it's the largest independently funded or self-funded scholarship program in America. Hopefully, I won't
Okay.
get sued for that. I don't know if that's right or wrong, but I
Uh,
know it's
hey,
big.
you know what? If someone has that much time on their hands, somebody go do so.
we're amongst friends. Anyway, the yeah, it's it gave me a chance to get an education because
That's
we
awesome.
didn't come from any means. So in the neighborhood
So
that I was in, it was really great to have that. So that's a little fun fact about myself.
it's awesome. Congratulations. So that was based on merit, not on like you won a caddy tournament or anything. Of course, as soon as I hear golf and like scholarship, I have to go back to like Caddyshack, like back in the day, because
Yeah,
that's where my
no,
mind goes.
yeah, yeah. It's
I'm
the
sorry,
caddy
sorry.
caddy would have had that, but no, it was, yeah, it's on merit, and they give you, they have a house on a lot of campuses, and they basically give you the education and then a room. And most of us then would go get a job for our board, or if we did play sports, we, get our food through those sources or a books. So it wasn't full, because it didn't cover a lot of those other things.
Sure.
But it also created a creed of
Oh,
disciplines that we've talked about in the things that I've shared with you earlier about,
cool.
trying to do the right things.
Well, thank you for that, sir. I'll have to look further into that. I've never, when you said it, I was like, I'm going to nod, like I know what you're talking about. And then you'll probably explain. Uh,
Well, I
so
hope
my,
everybody that hasn't heard of the Evans Scholarship maybe takes a look at it, and those that are golfers probably have, because there's fundraising drives throughout most of the country, but it's an outstanding organization that helps a lot of young men and women today get an education in quality institutions, state institutions that otherwise, frankly, probably most wouldn't have had that chance. And I'm a graduate of it, and I still say it in the word that I am, not I used to be, because I basically believe I will always be.
we'll have to have a further conversation on that. Maybe we can see what the EF cares can support them. But moving on here, I
Yeah.
guess my final question I have for you, Craig, is why should someone want to do business with Craig Ault and Acquis Insurance?
Um, Thanks for giving me the chance to answer that because I'd like to think that they would get an opportunity to recognize that our independence has value, that we have a culture that's going to be based on transparency of communication. We're going to listen and learn the needs that they have and customize and tailor a solution that meets exactly what they want. That we value their opinions, we value them as a potential client, that we commit to communicate with transparency so that we are in this collectively on the same page, and that our experience, our financial strength, are stuff that can give them the assurances that selecting us or giving us a chance will be provide them with a good return and a good opportunity going forward. So appreciate the chance to give a little plug. Aquas Insurance is why I'm here. Respectful of that, and I believe that if you give us a chance and talk to myself or any of the representatives that we have throughout the country, I believe you'll be quite satisfied with the professionalism and the support you may get.
Excellent, Greg. Well, I appreciate your time today. Thanks for sharing your story. Always great to hear about how Aquas is, making inroads here in the U.S. Just appreciate your time. So thank you very much.
Always a pleasure. Really enjoyed it. Thanks very much, and call anytime.
All right, sounds great. Thank you. Catch up soon.
Take